everybody, and welcome to Sunday Brunch. I am your host, RM. Of course, we have with us today Russ. Russ, how are you today?
Oh, well, I've got man flu. So obviously the worst disease known to man. I need all the sympathy. I need all the love. I'm just like so sick. I can't even. I'm amazed that I'm here having man flu. Yeah, right. Thank you, RM. No, I've got a bit of a cold, but aside from that, it's been an epic week. Um, some great stuff to talk about in the world of pop culture. Um, I had a great day out on Thursday, which was absolutely wonderful. I had a really nice time, met a really nice person, so that was great actually. Yeah, I'm really happy about that.
It sounds wonderful. I'm sorry that you're not. You sound like you might be under the weather with this man flu. I hope you get better, and it's of short duration.
Oh, me too.
And guys, welcome to Sunday Brunch. Don't forget to check out Russ's Amazon storefront so you can see his Gladiatrix series. It's fantastic. You definitely want to check it out.
You're too
And
kind. I was on. I dropped into Midnight Metal or Midnight Musings the other night, and there was some guy on there said, "Oh, you're a writer. I want to buy your books." So that's so sweet. It was so sweet. I forget who it was, but hopefully, yeah, that was really nice.
yeah,
Thank you, Tom.
yeah, I definitely have to be honest with you, Russ, it's long overdue. We're definitely going to have you on to feature specifically for your books, for your writing, for what your books. I mean, I haven't ever had you on. It's how many years has it been? And we haven't had an actual stream where we just talk about the Gladiatrix series. There
Well, you
has
should get
been one.
MJ to do that because I really hate sort of talking about that stuff. But MJ, she's like a super fan. She knows more about it than I do. Or like I can't remember half half the things I said or did. But she's like, oh no, then there's that bit and there's this bit.
I will do that. And I do know MJ, and I have explained to her that I would like to have her on and we can talk about the series.
You've
Uh,
got a number, haven't you?
I do have her
Yeah,
number.
yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I've got her on my phone. So
Mhm.
I will be reaching out to MJ to do that. But as an author, I do also want to talk to you mainly about the idea of authors who focus on authors who focus on women.
Well, I
And
was doing it before it was cool. This was 2008, and I'm kind if I have one regret, it's like everything I do now is like old and hackneyed, but I was doing it back in the day, guys. They ripped
well,
me off, the fuckers.
we certainly do need to do a special where we talk about that and, and the impact through the years and, of different series as well. So I
Yeah,
think that's
sorry. Tom points out the person that wanted to buy the books was a guy called Chemist. So yeah,
well,
which is
we'll
kind of where I need to go, really, to get some man flu meds. So yeah, thanks, Tom.
we definitely need to talk about that because, like you said, you were doing it before. A lot of people were doing that um, in stories. So I did just want to point it out. There's another story that's in has been made into a series called The Wheel of Time, and that's
Mm.
also kind of a female focused story as well, also made way before anybody even thought about making a series or books like that. So it would be great to do that, but also to do a stream on your Gladiatrix series because it is so amazing. So um okay. Guys, this is the Amazon
You're
storefront.
very kind.
You
Thank
can
you.
check out Russ's books there. Also, subscribe to Tom Jr. Jackson channel. Tom has a fantastic October coming up. He has reviews that are going to be in the theme of Halloween. So if you like scary stories or just like Halloween themed kind of things, Tom is going to have that coming up. You don't want to miss that, guys. Something to think about. And guys, you can tip me on Stream Elements too, or you can send me tips here through super chats, but you can do both. And thanks so much everybody for being here. We got Brogu. Russ Brogu is here.
Grogu, hey man.
Brogu says, good morning, RM, and good morning, Russ. And guys, we're going to have a shorter Sunday brunch today. I have to go do something, and so does Russ. So we both have things to do this morning, but it is kind of the first Sunday brunch this year where it is the fall, everybody. It is officially fall here in New York. And I'm grateful, but I still wish it was 80 degrees like it was just a few, really like 10 days ago, where it was nice and warm. There's a storm here where I live in Long Beach. It's not so much that it's impossible to get around. It's just that if you go walking on the boardwalk, it's very uncomfortable with this storm. The storm is so strong and the wind is so strong that the sand on the beach whips on you when you're on the boardwalk. It's not comfortable. Like, it's not enjoyable to have that. So, so I've been stuck in the house, which is fine, but I've been stuck in the house and I haven't been able to go to the boardwalk, and I don't feel like myself when I don't go to the boardwalk. So I feel very kind of weird and like a little agitated and odd. Okay, maybe that's too much. Tom Jr. Jackson is here this morning. Russ?
Hey, man.
Tom, how are you? Tom is my collaborator, moderator, and good friend. We are all good people. Tom, thank you for being here. Bonzo Kilborn is here. Bonzo says, on a Sunday morning sidewalk, I'm wishing, Lord, that I was stoned, because there's something about a Sunday make your body feel alone, but I'm not alone. I got a brunch happening. Yeah. All right. That's the kind of thing. Maybe I need to adapt that for my intro. What do you think, Russ?
I reckon. I mean, far be it for me to say, Bonzo, but like, it is Sunday. You can wake and bake. Like, no one's going to judge you for that.
Absolutely. I really like the tone. I like the excitement. I like the energy I'm hearing in the statement. I think we're going to adopt that as part of my intro. Maybe I'll even sing it, because I think I need to do an intro where I'm singing, and maybe this might be it, Bonzo. You are inspiring me. We also have Joe Tyson here.
Oh, Big Joe, the 10th expendable. I can see him up there with his machine gun behind Dolph Lundgren.
Yes.
See it now.
Joe Tyson, hope you are well. Says, greetings, RM and Russ. We got Gary Bando Sandwich Worthington. Says,
all right, gal. Oh, thanks, mate. Thank you.
I wish I could send you some chicken soup or something.
Do you know what? I'm not that bad. It's just I've got a sore throat. I feel, achy and all the rest of it. But I'm not like, it's not going to keep me out of the next war or anything like that. But like last night, I was watching the boxing, and maybe I stepped on the balcony for a bit of 420 friendly, R&R. And I thought, fucking hell, my throat hurts. What's going on here? And then I sat back on the couch and and then I started sweating. I'm like, oh no. But I've got like loads of Lemsip in the cupboard, because don't leave home without it. So like I've got all the meds, so I'll be fine.
Yeah, I have to give you credit for Lemsic over there in the UK. I've taken it several times, and it honestly, after I take it, I almost can open my eyes and wake up from.
Yeah, it's the good stuff, eh?
It is so good. And I was able to get a lot of it when I was over there, really readily at any convenience location. Just grab it off the shelf, and I was ready to go. Really appreciate that product. I almost wanted to grab a bunch and take it home.
I can send you some. It's not illegal. If you want me to pick some up, I'll definitely send you some.
Yeah, I will. I'm certainly going to consider that, Russ. And I also want to say hello to Darth Plato, who is here today.
I was thinking of Darth Plato yesterday. I was watching I've subscribed to this channel called Kings and Generals, which is it's such a brilliant channel. It really is. If you're an ancient history or history and warfare nerd, and they cut together a 6-hour documentary on all of their documentaries about the First Crusade, and it was absolutely fascinating. So DP, if you are not subscribed to Kings and Generals, go and check them out. They are effing awesome. I've been subscribed for years. I love them.
Well, I just wanted to pull them up quickly here, because I'd never heard of them before myself. And this is their YouTube site, Kings and Generals. And streaming now, they're talking about the Pacific War. Darth Plato and I were just streaming and talking about that as we watched Operation Mincemeat. I hope I'm saying the right thing. And Greyhound. I hope I'm saying the right thing here, guys. God help me if it's the right action in the right war. But I'm pretty sure Greyhound was, no, actually, that's the Atlantic. So it's okay, guys. I'll remember this stuff. I will. But
did you sort of wake and bake this morning, RM? I'm just wondering,
No,
seem a bit distracted over there. I'm not going to lie.
It's because I do have to write a script for a good portion of when I do broadcasts like this. I do write a script, and this is unscripted. So I just wanted to pull up Kings and Generals because you lauded about it and you said it's such a great YouTube channel. So I just wanted to show everybody including Darth Plato, who I do my historical series with. This and Darth Plato and I are going to be reviewing Troy. That's the next movie we're going to be watching live right here on Positive Fandom on Thursday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard
I
Time.
wish it was earlier because I'd go in for Troy. I love Troy, especially the director's cut. I think that film got such a kick in when it came out, and I just loved Troy. I thought it was really good. And when they brought out the director's cut with the extra commentary and all of that stuff, I just thought it was sumptuous. I really enjoyed it. It was like a throwback to an old 60s movie. The performances in it were outstanding. Especially who I think's a brilliant actor, and he gets a bit of a bad rap, for just
Ooh.
being so beautiful, is Orlando Bloom,
Oh yes, I love him.
right?
He
And
was
in
such a
that,
great Paris. He was so good in
he
that.
was awesome because he was a spineless, weedy little twat,
He was
and
a lover, not a fighter.
exactly what you expect Paris to sort of be. Not a warrior. He's not a warrior. He's like, he's a lover, not a
He's a
fighter,
broken nail
literally.
trying to pull the arrow through the through the bow.
Yeah,
It's like he can't do anything. It's like
can't do anything. But
I
if
can't
you if
make
you
love, sweet love. That's
yeah, to what was her name? Diane Kruger.
yes, just
Yeah, she was kind of easy on the eye as
oh
well.
yes, yes.
Um,
You can see the two of them just oh my goodness, it's so beautiful, Var, so
but
beautiful. I just
what's
love
my point? It's like,
it.
if you think about it, up until then, he was only really known for Lord of the Rings, where he played like quite a heroic and obviously beautiful looking character. I mean, he was so good looking in that, it almost hurt your eyes, as I like to say.
Mm.
But then he does this like complete about face where he's playing this spineless little wimpy coward. He still looked amazing. But you know what? Even though he was portrayed as this this type of guy, you had some sympathy for him. Like imagine living in the shadow of your heroic older brother who, like he's married with kids and he's going to be the king, and what have you got?
Was it Eric Bana? Eric,
Eric Banner, yeah, it was
yeah,
Eric
he
Banner,
was hot too.
and Saffron Burrows as Andromache, who, oh my God, I don't know
Oh,
what it. Some people have got it. Saffron's
oh,
got it in spades. She's absolutely. She's married to Dougray Scott actually, but yeah, she was so sexy in that. In that, sexier than Helen. I thought anyway.
wow.
She had all of that going on. I was crushing on her, and of course, the inimitable Sean Bean was in it as Odysseus, and you know what, Brad Pitt, best
Oh
looking
yeah.
guy, best looking guy in the world at the time, probably still is the best looking guy in the world. And I remember at the time when they criticized his accent, and I thought, well, do you know what? He's American and he's not doing an American accent because obviously he's surrounded by all these bloody British thespians, Brian Cox and, Sean Bean and Orlando Bloom, who's obviously been through RSC, and all of these thespians. And he sat there. You can imagine what's his process. Well, I can't really talk with my California accent here or my Oregon accent, wherever he's from. So he put on this strange accent.
Yeah.
Now he's from Thessaly, and it worked for me. I thought he was fantastic. And then I watched all of the special features and all that kind of thing, and like how they explained that Achilles was the perfect warrior in that he'd been trained in the ancient Greek martial arts, which they had. It was called Pancration. They had boxing and wrestling and all that stuff in ancient Greece, but they wanted his style to be basically the fight between, and they didn't use this particular terminology, but really what you had was like Mike Tyson versus Bruce Lee, in that Hector was perhaps not as well schooled, but certainly as well trained. But Hector's training, by and large, had been really on the battlefield. He'd learned his skills and he'd learned to fight in a real situation. And Achilles had too, but Achilles was a much more stylized fighter. And they brought that out. And that was something that they really, really thought about. And the one guy said, and in the script it says, and they fight with spears in a godlike manner. Great. What are we going to do with that? And everything was worked out. And Wolfgang Peterson, the director, was saying that he used to phone Brad Pitt and go, "Oh yeah, so I've just had a meeting with Eric. Man, he's huge. Like he's put on so much muscle. Like, you know, I don't know how you're doing, Brad, but Like Eric looks like he's shredded. And then you get on the phone to Eric Banner and say, you know what, I just saw Brad and he is looking ripped. And like these two guys had a competition, and they had to pay each other money every time they accidentally hit each other in the fight. Apparently they had a bet going on, and you had to pay the guy $1,000 or whatever because they're super rich actors. Oh yeah, love it, absolutely love it. And I've kind of ruined your program now, haven't I? Because this is all the shit I've
No,
been
because
saying on your program.
you didn't ruin the program, because I was going to ask something related to this, but I want to say hello to everybody. Good morning, Stavros. How are you,
Hey,
Stavros?
Stavros. Yeah, of course, Stavros, ancient Greece, right
And
up your
Thalia,
street.
absolutely, Russ. Thalia is here, says, good morning, Artem, Russ, and Tom. She even has the coffee cup there. Good
Hmm.
morning. Good morning.
Hey,
We
Thalia.
so good to see you. We also have Keely Chow. Roll Tide, Keely Chow. How are you?
Hey, Alabama. How did they do? One of my friends on Facebook. He's a big Alabama fan. He looks just like Tom Cruise as well. He's such a good looking bloke.
Oh my gosh. We also have Nathan Trujillo. Nathan says, happy Sunday, Artem and Russ. Well, happy Sunday to you, Nathan. So good to see you all here today. Norwegian Kryptonian is here. Hi.
How's it, man?
Gosh,
Skull?
hope you're well. Wonder what the weather is like near you. Tom says,
Probably shit. Sorry, Norwegian Kryptonian. It's probably cold and grey, I'm gonna guess.
Tom says, do you like sand everywhere? Visit the boardwalk during a storm. And I thought someone was going to do the Anakin thing about, I don't like sand, like.
It's
Um,
rough and coarse. It gets everywhere. The texture. That's more
Irene,
Donald Trump. That was more Donald Trump than Anakin, to be fair, Russ. All right, sorry. The
Irene is
best
here.
sand, the greatest sand. I love the sand. I'm gonna have the best sand ever on Tatooine.
Irene is here, says, good morning, beautiful RM. Beautiful RM. Well, good morning,
Good
Irene.
morning, Iphigenia. Hello.
And Hector, sorry I was late. I had school with all three kids this morning. Hope everyone is well. I hope the kiddies are well, Irene. I'm going to start gaming streaming again starting this week. So I hope to see you pop in every once in a while, find out how the kiddies are doing. Hope you are doing well, Irene.
Yeah, that chemist dude was asking about that, and I said to him, "Look, our room streams games all the time on her channel, so I think he picked up a subscriber there." He said, "Yeah, he's going to go and subscribe." So I hope you got a new one.
Yeah, absolutely, Tom. Thanks for posting that in there. The Kings and Generals. I didn't even know that existed, and I do have some.
It's sweet, man. I love it.
I do have actually something to say about it. You guys are talking about Troy, about Brad Pitt. And Irene even mentions Mr. and Mrs. Smith, which is, of course, the famous film that broke up Brad's marriage to Jennifer Aniston. And of course, he married Angelina Jolie.
Well, you've got to feel sorry for Jen in that scenario. And I remember thinking at the time, and I said to my wife Sally at the time, it's my ex-wife now, but I said, can you imagine how hard it's been, how hard it is being Jennifer Aniston's girlfriend at this particular moment in her life? Like, how does that conversation go? Like, oh, fuck him, Jen. He's no good looking. You could do better than him.
Oh, please.
But no. Well, do you know what? You're much better looking than her.
No.
Do you know what? You're a better actress.
However, one can't deny that Jennifer Aniston is one of the most popular actresses in the world. So, even despite that, Russ, I think she still landed on her feet. And I don't even think she cared. I'm just going to be honest about it. We didn't see any like sad Jen photos. She was like, okay, I wonder who I'm going to date next. Very matter of fact about it, considering who she lost. Brad Pitt, who was the hottest star at the time, right, Russ?
Well, yeah, but those Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt, they were the best looking people in the world at the time. I mean,
Bradgelina.
Brangelina. And do you remember that was that whole thing about Team Angie and Team Jen and all that kind of stuff? The media really hyped up, and it's really sad when a marriage breaks down. As I know from experience, it's never a great time. But I think probably Jennifer Aniston seemed to come out of it, as you say, okay. She's pretty pragmatic about it, wasn't she? She's like, well, what am I going to do? I don't know. I'll pick myself up.
Yeah, and I think she did. And this all kind of, and I know this sounds very odd, but I probably sent you this. It might have been last week, Russ. I don't know whether it was last week or the week before or whatever, but there is some kind of meme. And it has to do with, maybe I should go to the Forbes one because Forbes sounds somewhat more upscale, right? About the Roman Empire. And
Oh,
there's a meme about it. And I did actually contact you. When I say contact you, I mean I sent you a message, through WhatsApp about how often in the course of a day do you think about the Roman
yes,
Empire?
yeah. This was a thing for a couple of days, wasn't it? It was a bit of a storm on the internet.
Yeah, it really was. And I kind of think what's really funny about it is that, obviously I already knew the answer for you. I knew your answer. I was asking the question, but it was one of those rhetorical questions where I would say, "Oh, gee, I wonder what an author of books about the Roman Empire, excuse me, would be thinking about." Obviously, that's your field, that's your expertise, one of your many expertise. And there was a TikTok about it, and people were sending messages, and it was supposed to be like women would contact men and say, "Hey, how often do you think of the Roman Empire?" And I actually asked different people that I thought didn't think about the Roman Empire because I wanted to get an answer from them. One person told me they think about the Roman Empire every time they order Little Caesars. I got all sorts of different responses, but and it was like a TikTok thing. And some of you think of the Roman Empire, some people, it's not really that important to you, and that's fine. But there was this, how often do you think about the Roman Empire meme going around. And why am I bringing it up? I'm bringing it up because for me, it's also daily because it has to do with, and I brought up the YouTube channel for this one. I'm a Stoic, which means that people who are Stoics study the philosophy of, the ancients. And it is very funny because I've been doing this since I was in high school because we had to study Latin. So as soon as you pick up that Latin book, all of a sudden, you are studying all of these different sayings and quotes and stuff in Latin. And mind you, I cannot speak Latin, so but it doesn't matter. I study the translations. That's what I'm really trying to say. So I don't want you guys to think I'm a huge Latin scholar. No, I just study Stoicism, and it's based off of the writers of these ancients from that time period. So there is a as you can see, YouTube channel dedicated to it. But oh, thank you. So Darth Plato is throwing out the Darth Plato's throwing out the I don't know what it means.
If you
See,
want peace, prepare for war.
war. Okay. Thank you, Darth Plato. Like I said, I still actually have the same Latin book I had in high school, but I became fascinated by, honestly, the messages and what was going on, and with each leader at the time, and each of them many of them kept a lot of notes and wrote about what was going on in their lives and what they learned. And there are some really good quotes and different approaches to life that I think is very helpful and certainly interesting. So for me, it's every day. Dulce et decorum est pro patria mori. So we know that we have a Latin scholar here in the chat, and it is Darth Plato. And it makes sense because your name is Darth Plato, right? So that's not a surprise. But I did think it was kind of fun, Russ, to kind of go back to this because I don't think there's a week where we're not talking about some kind of, if it's not a swords and sandals movie, it's something about, the ancients. There's always something that seems to come up. And so for some people, it's the norm. For others, maybe you don't think about it that much. But I think it is wonderful. Bonzo says he is a cunning linguist. Thank you, Bonzo, for that. Um, and Irene says, I think of the Roman Empire when I ride Spaceship Earth at Epcot. Anytime people talk about Christ, when I think of world history. Yes, thank you, Irene, for sharing that. That is important, and I'm glad you mentioned that. Let us know what you're thinking. Blazing Asian is also here, Russ. I'm looking for his here, there it is. Morning chat and panel. Hi, Blazing Asian.
Hey, man.
And Mike has bad knees is also here. I think Jennifer Aniston is better looking now. See, you know something? It's a lot of times it doesn't really. I think it's interesting when it comes to the way a woman looks. You know, people have different tastes at different times, and
Mm.
you know, I think Jennifer has definitely that girl next door that most men would find attractive. So I'm
Yeah,
just
but Pamela's still number one.
I think that Pamela, like I've always said before, she was stunningly beautiful before she did anything to herself. So, you know, I'm like, well, she doesn't really need to do anything because she's already so beautiful. Um, yeah, she is amazing and she still looks incredible. So I do also love her. But I did want to mention to you guys, I'm a Stoic, so I think about the Roman Empire all the time. And I'm always thinking about these biblical films where they're recreating different you know, stories from the
It'd
Bible
be
or
really funny if biblical films came back, wouldn't it? You know, we're talking about the twilight of the superheroes and all that sort of thing, and you often compare it to sort of golden era Hollywood that got, you know, and their big budget things got finished off with Cleopatra, like that was the huge big budget flop. But at that time, they were making, you know, well, not at that time, but round about that sort of era, you know, you had all of these biblical films, didn't you? John Wayne, that man was the son of God, and all that that kind of thing. To address Bonzo's point earlier on, he said, "What's so great about having a British accent in an ancient Greek thing?" I think it's a trope, Bonzo. I think that people just expect when you're watching a movie set in classical times, people just expect to hear it. It's probably not right, but people do. So I've seen two films where they handle it really, 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 really fucking well. And one was Alexander, where they had all of the Greeks, the southern Greeks, the Spartans, the Athenians, the Corinthians, the Thebans, and all that. They all had posh English accents, but the Macedonians all had Irish accents to sort of differentiate from them. They did that for that. And then there's a film called The Eagle.
Barbarians.
No,
Oh,
The Eagle,
the Eagle.
which has Jamie Bell in it, you know, Billy Elliot and Channing Tatum in it. And Channing Tatum plays a Roman, and Billy Elliot, Jamie Bell plays his British slave that's sort of assigned to him. Every single Roman in that film is played by an American.
Right.
Donald Sutherland, Channing Tatum, all these guys, because the Romans weren't from Britannia, right? They weren't, and all the Celts all have northern accents from, you know, from northern England. Again, brilliant, but by and large, Bonzo, you just kind of expect it. And to rewind the conversation there back to Troy, if Brad had not employed an accent and differentiated his speech, his American accent probably would have stuck out like a sore thumb. There it is.
Yeah.
It's a great film. I absolutely love that film.
Well, I like this film. There's another film, and Rush, you probably will be able to tell me what the name of the film is because it has Mike Fassbender in it. And
Centurion.
yeah,
I watched it. I
Centurion.
watched it the other night.
And in the film, correct me if I'm wrong, Russ, is this the film where we do hear different languages?
Yeah. The Celts are all sort of speaking in some sort of Celtic language, and in this one as well, in the Eagle, when they get up to sort of Scotland to find the Eagle of the Ninth, I think there as well they have subtitled ancient Celtic. But now you can get it all off Chat GPT because I just did a short for Gladiatrix. I don't know what's happening with that. And I kind of changed the beginning and I thought, well, okay, let's put some dialogue in here. And I'm like, hey, can you give me something in ancient Dacian? And it's like, no, but you know, this is like a really similar language. So it gives me all this like weirdness. And I said, well, how would you say that phonetically? And it just did it. It just
Oh.
did it. It just did it. It was insane. I, mean, I don't know how accurate it is, but it sounded good. So I just threw it in there.
The other, so I wanted to show the Centurion one because I absolutely love this poster of it. It does have Mike. Oh, that's way too close. It has Mike Fassbender, excuse me, in it. It also has Olga Korolenko. I love her. But something I liked in the film, Russ, just like you said, also in The Eagle, is we do see the Romans sort of talking separately, and they're very kind of like they have this attitude that I love because they're like, we're going to conquer these people and get rid of them and, you know, take what we want. And the attitude that they have as they're speaking, it's they got this very elitist attitude. It's fantastic. Like they have a real attitude about themselves as if they're the best stuff ever. And I love it. I love that these depictions where we do hear the different languages. And of course the other one, that other film that I liked, although it's in English, is the one with where it's a murder mystery. And you know that film I'm talking about. It stars Sophie Okinato. She plays a slave in the story. And
No, I don't know that one.
it's and I'll tell you what it is. It stars Sophie Okinato. She plays, as I said, a slave, and of course she's starring now in The Wheel of Time, as the Armelin Seat, which is kind of like one of the most important characters in the story. But the movie that she was in is called, what is it called? I gotta find this thing. And I don't want to waste too much time thinking about it because I know we.
Do you know why you're finding that? The one thing that sticks in my craw about Centurion, though, a little bit, is they got everything was accurate, like in terms of costumes, off the story and people surviving and all that. Of course, isn't, it's fantasy and all the rest of it, but everything looked spot on, except when they get attacked. And like you've got all these Roman legionaries in mail or lorica, which they would have had. Lorica segmentata are all mail. Like everybody sort of tends to think of a Roman legion that would be in lockstep, and they'd all have the same kit, and they actually didn't at all. Like the lorica was new and it was fairly expensive, and people had chain mail that they were still wearing, and they had it all correct. The shields were great, everything was great, but they were all holding auxiliary spears, and I could never work out why they gave these guys. You've gone to all this effort to get everything spot on, but there they are with the wrong spears, because they would have had pilums, not auxiliary spears, which were totally different. So the auxiliaries had like a thrusting spear and a sort of oval shaped shield. I would say the Romans had the big, convex one,
Mhm.
convex, and they would have had pilums, which is like a big thick shaft of wood like that, and then it had like a really narrow point on it. The idea was when they throw the pilum at you, it'd stick in your shield. It was supposed to kill you, and if it didn't kill you, you put your shield up, go into the shield there, then it would bend because the weight of the back of the spear was much heavier than the iron, and that would bend. And then because it had a, a barbed head, it punched through your shield, and you couldn't get it out, especially in the middle of a battle. So what would you do? To throw your shield away and wait for the next load of pilums to come, because each Roman legionary carried two.
Oh my goodness gracious. Norwegian Kryptonian says weather is actually great, just waiting for winter.
Oh,
We're
okay, well
glad to
that's cool.
hear that. So glad that and you sound well, Norwegian Kryptonian. I hope you and your family are well, everybody. Also wanted to mention Bonzo says The Eagle was great. And it was, yeah, it's a good movie. A lot of people saw that. Stavros says that he's heading out earlier himself, got a Celtic fest to go to. That sounds fantastic, Stavros. You enjoy that. Certainly happy to see that. Darth Plato says British accent. I liked The Eagle.
Yeah, the Eagle's getting a bit of love here because it's like with all those films and Centurion and all the rest of it, tended to get a bit of a kick in at the time, but retrospectively, all these films are getting a lot of love. Like, and I'm going to go back to Troy. Like, I absolutely loved it. I loved it.
We're going to go back to Troy. We're not done with talking about this today. And Blazing Nation says, speaking of Rome, I always enjoyed Titus with Anthony
Yeah,
Hopkins.
Titus Andronicus, banging soundtrack. That opening soundtrack to Titus is just so operatic and so epic. It's really good. Funnily enough, what's his name? 300, Gerard Butler, and one of the I think it was Ralph Fiennes, maybe. They did a modern update of Coriolanus, which was really really good. Is that Matthias?
Absolutely.
Is that Matthias Hughes?
Yes.
Yes.
And certainly that it's called The Age of Treason.
Well, this is old because Matthias looks really young in that picture. I'm not wearing my glasses, but
I hope I'm saying the right actor. I hope I'm saying the right actor here, but certainly, yes, of course, I'm referring to what you're talking about. And of course, I am going to show one of the most famous, well, everybody knows this show. This was probably the first show, not Age of Treason, because I do love Age of Treason. I love it. It feels like a murder mystery in ancient times, and I love any kind of murder mystery and them trying to solve different things. And Sophie Okinato, she's like she's an interpreter because she speaks several languages, or the character that she is speaks several languages at the time, and she's always able to help him decipher what's going on. But this was a fun, I think it was made for television.
Mhm.
Um, and Brogu says that blonde guy played in I Come in Peace with Dolph Lundgren. Yeah,
Yeah,
probably.
he's a
He
real martial arts B movie legend. Is Matthias? He's actually there's a YouTube channel called Viking Samurai who covers sort of like 80s and 90s martial arts movie. Like the guy's a massive Jean-Claude Van Damme fan. But through his channel, like lots of people who are oh, what's that guy up to? What's it? He has a lot of those guys. So whatever happened to Matthias Hughes? Whatever happened to this guy? Anyway, some geezer made like a homage, crowd-funded movie to. It was like a basically blood sport. Fair enough. Like Viking Samurai, because he's got this channel. This filmmaker goes to him and like, look, oh, he got all these guys in the film. So he got Matthias in it, and he got Michelle Kesey in it, and Michelle Kesey plays Tong Po in Jean-Claude Van Damme's Kickboxer. You got all of these old guys, and the YouTuber Viking Samurai, who is very, very muscular, very, very fit, and is a very, very, very good-looking man. He ended up in the movie. So a YouTuber has through his channel kicked off his acting career, and now he's moving into crossover fights. There's like a fight between him and some MMA guy or kickboxer come off. So stick to YouTube, or and you could be fighting in the octagon or in your own movie. I mean, who knows?
no,
Or dares to
I
dream.
certainly don't want to be in a movie. I like watching love scenes. I don't want to go ahead and make one now,
Ah,
or act in one. Blazing Asian says Viking Samurai is a great channel, and
mhm.
I also wanted to mention Irene said she liked 300. Russ, you and I watched that with your daughter.
Yeah,
Um,
didn't we? Yeah.
we did. Certainly was one of my favorites. And as I explained to her, it's all about, it's all about the body, like that's, I said, don't even pay attention to the details of 300. I said, just marvel in the splendor of this maleness of this. You're going to smell the testosterone coming off of the screen in this film. Don't even think about the details. Just watch the men as they move. They're like, these beautiful acrobats on the screen, and it is a feast for the eyes. I love 300 for that reason.
And
um
Michael Fassbender was in that as well.
yes. And I did want to just show this Viking Samurai YouTube channel, which is another one. Let me put subscribe. I wasn't subscribed to him. You can see him here, and as you can see, he's kind of diesel, right?
Oh yeah, he's as fit as fuck, man. He really is,
this
and he's a very handsome guy as well.
Yeah, this is great. You can see he's got the classic beach, or let's say these classic 80 stars working out in the gym here with Arnold and Van Damme and Stallone. And I think he put himself in there.
Yeah.
This is what I like. This is the type of fun stuff, that I think is really great. And so guys, go ahead and check out Viking Samurai.
Sorry, let me just pause there for a second.
Sure.
Yeah, no, because Blazing Agent says Michael Bisping is the fighter he challenged. Yes, he did challenge Bisping, but Bisping kind of ignored it. But he was doing a stream the other day with a kickboxer or an MMA guy, and he is going to have the fight with him. So the Bisping thing may happen, but this is definitely happening. I think it might be that guy. I'm in big trouble. Just scroll down a little bit in the middle.
Sure, I will. Tell me, I'm going to scroll down one more.
That's it. Yeah, Jimmy Justice. There you go. There you
Okay.
go, Blazing. He's definitely fighting him.
Okay, wonderful. And guys, do check out this channel. It's called Viking Samurai, guys. Oh, look at Shannon Lee.
Yeah.
Training secrets. Yeah, get excited. Guys, do check it out. It says make the 80s and 90s great again. Absolutely check out that channel. What fun today. And Blazing Asian says, yes, Michael Bisping is the fighter he challenged. Viking Samurai is a great channel. Guys, thank you for bringing that up. Also wanted to thank Brogu, who says RM could be called the beautiful billowing bruiser. Wow. This is fantastic. I'm totally loving this. Yeah, I just love it, guys. I might make several hours of just billowing for those of you who like that sort of stuff. And it's going to be on my YouTube channel, so you won't have to pay for it. It won't be behind some kind of paywall or OnlyFans or anything like that. It'll just be me with my hair conditioned, of course, and washed, and then just dried naturally as
Sorry,
a
you setting up
gentle.
an OnlyFans, did you say? Sorry,
No, no,
I
no,
was
no,
busy sneezing.
no. I just said that I would just make a few hours of the billowing and,
I don't know,
you
man.
know,
Listen, vote in the chat. If you want our room to start an OnlyFans, you can start it here now. Just start liking and sharing the
no,
video.
no.
Send whacking in the super chats like you would if it was an OnlyFans. And then, hey, maybe I'll do one too.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah, and
Russ.
literally, I'd have like an OnlyFan, right? some old
It's an
lady from Idaho. Oh, I
OnlyFans.
love that Russell Whitfield. He's so sexy. Can you
It
imagine?
is. I do have a fan in here, guys. It's a, I always have a fan in here, just because this room there's a vent, but the vent does not. The air doesn't go to it, so I had to have a fan in here to just circulate air. I like air circulating, so that's how it started. And then I kind of got known for having wet hair. Bonzo, thank you.
Yeah.
I Oh my gosh. Oh my goodness gracious. Some love for my lovelies. I support her OnlyFans, and I'd watch Russ's too. Wow. Wow,
Oh,
Russ. Oh dear.
Iphigenia, you flatter me.
We might do an
Okay.
OnlyFans, and we don't mean behind a paywall. We mean right here on maybe Sunday Brunch or Positive Fan, and an OnlyFan. And it is true, we mean an actual fan here, guys. Okay. It'll
Well,
be an OnlyFans special where Russ
we've
and I
got
will.
topless Christmas, haven't we? We've got topless Christmas Day.
We
So
do have that coming. It's going to be steamy, guys. It's going to be hot. It's
because
going to
Christmas will
be,
fall on Sunday this year, won't it? I think.
well, it'll just be, let me look at the calendar. It'll just be, we're going to celebrate it regardless. Christmas falls on a Monday. So it'll be a hot Christmas Eve special.
Hmm.
It's going to be so hot, guys. But yes, like I said, it's going to be literally, and when I say only fan, that's what we're talking about. There won't be any paywall or anything like that. We're going to be here. We're going to be enjoying it. And we're going to be showing off our physique. Russ and I have been trying really hard to stick to our diets. We have been trying so hard, right, Russ? We've been exercising like crazy. I don't feel right. Thank you, Irene, for the super chat. I don't feel right. I haven't been able to go to the boardwalk and exercise. I have a whole bunch of different exercise machines that I have now. And Russ has been getting very svelte. He's both he and I are just pumping. We're not pumping iron, but I wish we could say we were pumping iron. Like, I wish we could be like this guy Viking Samurai who has Russ and I could be in there. Although I would prefer the Shannon Lee video, like where I'm kind of like doing some like really cool pose where I'm like, hey, but it is fun. Like anything, we're trying to get this mood right, this energy, this fun part. And I kind of applaud Viking Samurai for doing this, because this is the stuff that we get passionate about, why we're all here today, because we like our Sunday brunch and we're talking about things that are on our mind. I really do like his channel. It looks cool, but it doesn't look overproduced. It looks very natural. It looks like he goes to the gym and picks the same barbells every week, Russ. And
Yeah, years ago I started watching it, and he basically said that he was approaching 40, so I think he might be over 40 now, or 40 or whatever he is. And he said he wanted to get into the best shape of his life, and he was in pretty good shape at the time, like he really was. But now he's just he's an absolute beast, isn't he? Look at him.
yeah, he is an absolute beast, and there's still more I want to talk to you guys about before we wrap up the show. This is getting kind of hot here. I don't actually have an OnlyFans. Like I told you, it's going to be literally a fan Grogu. And certainly there is this Christmas spirit. I'm a little excited about the holidays, Russ, because the holidays are coming up. Thank you, Mighty Orbats, who says Artem doesn't need OnlyFans. That's right, guys. I can get spicy right here. I might get my channel demonetized, or at least the video, but it's fine. And also, I wanted to say yes, thank you so much, or at least in Arnold's accent, pumping iron.
Yeah.
Pumping iron. I can't say it the way he does it, but his accent had a huge impact on people too.
Mhm.
So, I think that is very interesting. And Blazing Asian was talking about Expendables 4.
I haven't
Um,
seen it yet, Blazing. I was supposed to go and see it, but the day I was out in London, I actually ended up seeing another movie with this lady that I was with. So
mm,
Expendables wasn't out, and I
mhm.
haven't seen it this weekend because I was going to go yesterday, and then I started to feel shit yesterday, and then I ended up watching boxing and so on and so on. So I haven't actually seen it, but I can't wait. And I don't know, the proof will be in the pudding. I don't know if it's worse than three. I mean, I didn't mind three. I thought three had some really great character moments. And funny enough, I was talking to somebody about this the other day, and both my daughter and MJ think the third one is the best one
Oh, really?
because they don't have that emotional connection to Arnold and Bruce and Sly and Chuck Norris and all these that we do. So they really enjoyed the third one, whereas everyone goes on the third one. The third one isn't so great, but that's their favorite.
Yeah, it's interesting when people start to talk about what their favorite versions or parts of a franchise are. And I did just want to show everybody that, as you know, Darth Plato and I did review Hamburger Hill last week. This is just I'm just sharing part of our where you can see us reviewing the film there.
Yeah, I
So do
saw that.
check.
I saw that in the cinema.
Yeah, wow. I think that is very interesting. I didn't see it in the cinema, and I know you were just joking, Broger. I just having a laugh without all that. So do check that out because we're going to be doing Troy this week. Continuing with the do you think of the Roman Empire? We're going to be, or let's say antiquity. I just want to say antiquity. The
Mm.
ancients. Do you think of the ancients and everything that or surrounding the ancients, let's say. So I did just want to point that out. But we did a great review of Hamburger Hill. One of the things I didn't say about Hamburger Hill, and Darth Plato remembers this before I start to even talk about, we're just about to wrap up the show today because Russ and I do have things to do. So we had to shorten the show today. But Russ, one of the things that I wanted to say, and I didn't say it on the broadcast while we were watching Hamburger Hill, was how
Mhm.
important the love scenes in the movie are in Hamburger Hill.
Do you know, I don't remember any love scenes in the movie. The one abiding scene I remember of that movie is when they're with the black sergeant with the glasses, and he's teaching them how to clean their teeth. And the
Yes.
the one the one guy says, "Come on, bro!" Like, and he says, first of all, I'm not your bro. Second of all, da, 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 da. Third of all, you will brush your teeth vigorously. And I'm trying to keep you alive here, and if you can't even obey that order, how am I going to keep you alive? Then you will brush your teeth in a vertical, uh, uh, rapid vertical. I can't remember what he says, but it really, I remember that scene.
Vertical circle motions. Make sure
Something like that. Yeah,
and it's not a joke, and it's about survival, and honestly, it's about morale. And of course, there is a what is it called? There's a grooming standard. Is that what it's called in the military?
I
Um,
don't know. I was never in the military.
well, I believe it's called a grooming standard, and men in the military, let's say in the, and I'm sure it's the same in the British military, where you have to have your hair a certain length and you have to shave a certain number of times and all this sort of stuff.
Hmm.
But they're in the jungle, in the middle of the jungle, so of course it's very different. And I thought that that was important to show the stress that these men were under. And hello, Stubble, how are you? But the reason why I wanted to just briefly mention that love scene part is because throughout the film they had a point in the movie where the media was criticizing the soldiers for going to brothels and kind of, and thank you, Irene, it is a grooming standard. Thank you very much, Irene, for confirming that. um in the film, they had a press crew. This is 1970s Vietnam, and the press crew is essentially criticized soldiers for the way they behaved in Vietnam, for being involved in the war. It was a draft, right? So 70% of the men there were drafted, and also for going to brothels while they were in Vietnam. And so I thought it was very interesting because, in the first, maybe it's the first 30 minutes of the film, the men do go to a brothel where they're with women. And it's a kind of a graphic scene. But honestly, Russ, I was appalled to think that any reporter would criticize these men who had a high probability of dying for going to a brothel before they go out to war. Like, this is insane. You know, they need some kind of pleasure in their lives. You know, this, it seems so horrible that they would even have to fight somebody back home who thinks it's immoral for them to do that, knowing very well that they have desires and needs and they need to be with somebody. And so I really was quite surprised to find out that that was something that was criticized of the men at that time. But the
Yeah,
love
but
scene,
socially, it was a different time. Things were much more conservative in the 70s than they were even in the 80s and certainly the 90s. But you got to think of you've got to think these guys that were going off there, their parents and the people that were in positions of power and journalists and all that sort of thing, they were all like Korean and Second World War veterans, weren't they? And like, things were different in those days. I mean, like showing you, skirts got short in the 60s, and then there was a bit of a backlash against all of that in the 70s, wasn't there? The free love scene and all that kind of stuff. So I can imagine, especially in the media, that they were critical of it.
well, it kind of saddened me a little bit, Russ, knowing what was going to happen to some of the men, not all of the men. There were some men that came back, but it saddened me in that regard because I know how important intimacy is to people, and the notion that they wanted to be intimate with somebody before they die. It's certainly it's just heartbreaking, and it was kind of like it wasn't sort of like some kind of high class brothel somewhere. It was just a village, and they were with these sort of local girls, of course. And it certainly wasn't, I didn't find it degrading or horrible or anything like that. It was them just being men wanting
Mm,
to be intimate with somebody, and there's nothing wrong with wanting that kind of intimacy.
mm.
So yeah, I just that was something that I didn't mention, that because by the time I by the end of the program, I was like, oh yeah, maybe I should have said that, but I didn't realize how important that was in regards to the timing of the film and where they showed that scene. Bonzo Kilborn says that toothbrush scene was the beginning. Yes, I saw that, but I gave up on the movie. You should go ahead and watch it, Bonzo. You might I'm not saying there's anything wrong with you not
It's
watching it.
kind of the runt of the litter, isn't it, when it comes to the sort of Vietnam films of Apocalypse Now, Full Metal Jacket, and Platoon, and nobody ever talks about Hamburger Hill. And I think as a film, as a well-made thing, it's not up there with Platoon, Metal Jacket, or Apocalypse Now, but it's still okay. But I do remember watching it. I think maybe in the 2000s and thinking it was weaker than Platoon. But you know what? I haven't seen it for the longest time. Um, but yeah, I mean, if you've got like another 10, 15 minutes, we should probably get to the week in entertainment, I guess.
I do have another 10 or 15 minutes, and I did just want to mention one other. I promise you, Russ, I'm not going to keep us
Mhm.
here too long.
No,
Um,
don't worry. I feel okay. The Limsit's kicked in. I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm fine to carry on if you are.
what I was going to say is, and Irene talks about the uniforms; they have to be cleaned and ironed. Ironically, kind of like a very interesting. Darth Plato says, my old intern advisor wrote a piece that was critical of the shine shoes, clean shaven style of military discipline in hospitals in the United States. They're actually cracking down on personnel who work in the healthcare field, and that they also have to have a clean, disciplined appearance now, which is something I'm not going to say fell to the wayside, but they're focusing on it. And thank you, Brogu, for saying hit the lights. The other show that I wanted to mention that we didn't get a chance to mention, everybody knows. As soon as I show this, everybody's going to know what it's called, and it was the very first show that I ever saw that really kind of focused during this time period. And of course, it's I, Claudius.
Mm,
And of course, it is it's probably a BBC show or
it
IG.
was BBC. It used to be on BBC Two.
And this was a show that I watched every single episode, and then my father watched it, and then we rewatched it together. And certainly, it was such an incredible show. They dramatized the history, and I don't know how accurate it was, so I'm being honest, but they dramatized the history of this time period, and it was fantastic. And it wasn't sort of like giant stages or anything. It was very intimate. It felt like you were in this kind of watching this play, or it was really a wonderful performance by Derek Jacobi, who I've also watched in other shows and things through the years. But this really was such an enjoyable thing to watch. Just I just loved it, and I think they did a great job. Russ, are you familiar with this series?
Yeah, but goodness, I haven't seen it since I was small. Like it was on TV, and I remember it was on BBC Two. And when I say I was small, I was quite young. I remember John Hurt was in it, Brian Blessed was in it, obviously Derek Jacobi was in it. It was like a to Z list of British thesps.
Patrick Stewart was in it.
Yes, he was. Yes,
It's making me smile so much. So I couldn't help but think about this um, when people were asking the question about, do you think about the Roman Empire? How often? And it was specifically women asking men in their lives, friends, brothers, husbands, whatever, fathers, how often do you think of the Roman Empire? And I have to say that even sometimes, although it's not always the case, my brother will come out with a quote, and I'm like, that is very kind of, these quotes that these famous leaders would have. But also, I had a friend who was in the military, and they studied some of these. I could be wrong on the description of this, Russ, but these Roman military actions, I don't know
I
what they're.
think Hannibal, who wasn't Roman, he was fighting against the Romans actually. But Hannibal and Alexander and Darth Plagueis will probably know this. I think that still required studying in uh, I forget what the American one's called. We've got Sandhurst, which is our officer training place. I don't know what the American
We
one
have
is.
several. We have West Point, which
West Point.
is
Yeah.
for Army officers. We have a Naval Academy. There's probably an Air Force Academy, guys. There's also like different academies here for our different branches of the military. But certainly there was, they have to study these actions, military, I thank you so much, Irene. Says you go to West Point and the Air Force Academy. Thank you very much. And of course, Darth Plato knows this as well. And anybody here who is also familiar with it, West Point is right near where yeah, I guess it's near where I live, and also not too far from Tom Jr. Jackson. He's a little bit farther out to the east, but West Point is just down the road from us. But what's my point? My point is that for those people who were in the military, they had to study a lot of that too. And the friend I'm talking about was an officer, so he did have to study all that stuff. Thank you, Joe Tyson, who also mentions that you have to study Marcus Aurelius and Sun Tzu,
Yeah, the
the art of war, right?
meditations of Marcus Aurelius are really famous, and of course, the art of war.
And those meditations are huge in the Stoic realm, which is what I kind of study. It's not that I'm sort of like every day I have to open up a book and like, what is the thing? It's because ever since I was in high school, we've been looking at this. So, and I never stopped looking at it. And I became fascinated by a lot of the quotes, but not in Latin, in English. So there were translations already, but I became fascinated by a lot of that. And I thought that that was very interesting as well. Darth Plato says Britain has Dartmouth. US has Carlisle, the war colleges. I didn't even know. I was unaware of that. I always thought it was just the academy. Thank you, Darth Plato. But yes, the art of war, you have to read that book if you're in the military. And there's a number of different requirements. They have a reading list. Yes, it's the Coast Guard Academy near you. Is that near Rhode Island, Tom? I have a friend who almost went to that academy, ended up going to another military. I think they did officer training school. But the point that I'm making is that a lot of the men that I know are focused on these topics. It's not a coincidence. Obviously, Darth Plato is focused, and I stream with him. And of course, Russ, you are focused on this, and I stream with you. So it's not a coincidence. I think that people with similar interests or there's a possibility we have similar interests where we find these things interesting for a reason because we like them. And of course, you and I have talked about Spartacus, although we haven't had a chance to really deep dive into Spartacus like we'd like to. But, we are kind of looking at those themes a lot. So I did want to mention it. And of course, if you guys are a fan of this channel, you know that we are interested in that. And thank you, Chronicles. Chronicles, how are you? I like the Lotus Eaters. Now, that's another YouTube channel. Russ, I just sent you something on the Lotus Eaters about an invasion that happened in Italy. Chronicles, I like that show, the Lotus Eaters. It's a British show. And they did a thing saying most guys think about the Romans a few times a week. And yeah, perhaps they do, which I'm fine with. Joe Tyson says, my dad went to Carlisle whilst in the Army. That's amazing, Joe. That is so cool. I
Nice
think it's
one,
cool.
Joe.
I think it's cool. Maybe you guys don't think. I think it's cool. Like I think it's awesome. Mario, how are you today?
Hey, Mario.
I hope you are well, Mario. So good to see you. Darth Plato says officers still have to go to school as they gain promotion. There's also the general staff colleges. Yes. And I think the person that one of my friends who was in the military went to a university that had something called ROTC. And that it's like a special training program if you want to become an officer. And they went and got their college degree, and then they became an officer in the military. So I'm not sure. There's a number of different ways you can do it. Joe says CGSC. And I can't remember what that stands for. Maybe
That'll be the college that his dad went to, I'm guessing.
Thank you so much, Joe Tyson. Tom says that the Coast Guard Academy is in New London, Connecticut, and maybe 30 minutes for me. And it just so happens that I know a submariner who maybe not at the Coast Guard Academy, but near where you are, Tom, there's another place where submariners also go. He's not an officer, but nevertheless, yes, I knew a guy who was going to go there, but he ended up going to another school for the Coast Guard Academy. So that's what I thought. So, Tom, that it was very close to where you are as well. And thanks for sharing all of this, guys. Gary Bando Sandwich Worthington says, my 2 nieces and nephew are new soldiers in the British Armed Forces, recent graduates in the academy and in local forces, newspaper and press because they are twins. I love that, Gary. That is fantastic. Cool. That is fantastic. Congratulations. And thank you for their service. Tell them we are thinking about them. It's so important. And we respect you all. Certainly something to think about. Blazing Asian says, yes, my brother did ROTC. Yeah. And Irene says, I did 4 years of junior ROTC in high school, but chose not to pursue the military life. I knew it, Irene. No, I didn't know, but I just like hearing. I love it. Thank you, Irene. And Irene very clearly says, I have several friends who did and are officers now. And I could see you being an officer, Irene. Certainly proud of the time that you spent doing that. It does change you when you do junior ROTC or ROTC. It does change you as a person. Joe Tyson says, my dad went to Command General Staff College at Fort Leavenworth, Kansas, before going to Carlisle in Pennsylvania. So, and oh, wait a minute, Fort Leavenworth, Kansas. That's in the United States. Oh, cool, Joe Tyson. Awesome. For some reason, I thought you were overseas. Maybe you are, but and Tom Jr. Jackson says, the Groton, New London sub base, my dad used to work there. Yes, I happen to know a submariner, Tom, who kind of enlisted out of that sub base. So
does he float your boat, or the submariner?
No comment. So the other thing I was going to say is, so I did just want to bring up the notion of when you think about that question, does the man in your life think about the Roman Empire? I wanted to put it into context of how it really has a huge effect over many of us, either through the military or through stories we enjoy. Of course,
you literally have a Senate in the United States. Literally have the Senate, right?
Yes,
you can't get more Roman than that.
Our knives so they can stab each other.
Yeah, well, quite, yeah. Social media knives.
We haven't had that happen yet, but I kind of laugh because they'll say, oh, our government's not so bad. You should see the senators from Rome. And I'm like, you're going to compare yourself to senators of Rome? I don't know whether that's fair, but it is like that. There is it is a little unusual. Oh, look at this. Irene says, I still have anxiety dreams of showing up on uniform inspection day, not in my uniform. That is very interesting, Irene. I told you it changes you. It changes you when you go through a program like that, Irene. It changes you. Darth Plato says, U.S. Senate is nothing like the room.
Well, nobody said it was, but
nobody's writing inspirational.
That's where the word comes from.
I think the reason why he's saying that, and I could be wrong, Darth Plato, nobody's writing inspirational things like what the Roman Senate was writing, like what Marcus Aurelius was writing, and the leaders. And we're not getting anything. I'm sure they have some great biographies with some very moving moments, but there's nothing like that whole era. With I guess Kikero and that all those great authors who documented their lives, and their lives were not perfect. They didn't have perfect lives. That's the beauty of it, is that they didn't have perfect lives. But a lot of what they're saying is inspirational, and they're saying, hey, you have to make the best of your life and just keep going. And I think that that was very important, which leads me into the last few minutes, guys, talking about the Ahsoka series. Russ, I finally got around to it. Did you watch the last episode of Ahsoka? And what were your thoughts?
Um, yeah, I saw it. I don't really know what my thoughts are. I quite enjoyed it. Um, I'm getting, I'm getting more and more. Uh, Remember, I sent we put that link in the chat last week about angry old men that are pissed off that Star Wars didn't grow old with them,
Yes.
and that has really resonated with me actually. And I just keep watching this, wondering why it's not delivering what I want it to deliver. And then they had these little future merchandising creatures in there, didn't they? The little tortoise guys that they all live under rocks and stuff like that. And I thought, oh yeah, there's an opportunity for a toy. And I just, it's fine.
Huh.
It's fine. I don't. I, it's all right, isn't it? You know. And after the last one, I was really looking forward to it, and I kind of watched it, and I don't know where this story's going, and it just it's all right. Ahsoka's all right. I don't hate it. I don't love it. I was wondering why all the stormtroopers look. I get that you're the Forgotten Legion and all that sort of thing, but surely you could have the wherewithal to do up your armor, guys. It shouldn't be held together with duct tape. And I don't know. It was fine, and she found who she was looking for. Um, but I think the big problem with Ahsoka is this sort of reliance on rebels, and also the fact that, as we've discussed, and I'm not going to go into a big rant about it, but because this isn't a love story, this isn't a woman traversing the universe to find the love of her life. These are just like, yeah, she's literally just gone to find her mate, and she sort of found her mate. Spoilers, sorry. And where's the emotional weight? Hi, hi. That was kind of what it was, wasn't it? And there was no emotional weight to it. And I think Balin, and what's his apprentice called? It's the name's completely gone out of my head.
Hottie. She's a hottie.
Yes,
A little
Shin, that's
hottie
it. I
she
keep
is.
wanting to say, yeah, she is a little hottie. But they're the most interesting characters in it. I thought the guy that played Thrawn did really well. I don't know why he's getting such a kick in online, because he's got a tummy. It's like, fine, whatever. He's not been training, has he? He's been stuck in another galaxy far, far away, as they had to drop in there. So yeah, it was all right. What did you think?
Um, I thought that the part that we've been waiting for, which it's true, we've been waiting for Thrawn, and I am one of the people, I am one of those persons who feels that Thrawn is out of shape,
Mhm.
that his physical appearances are everything in Star Wars. He looks physically different than what he looked like before. And those 10 years were not ideal for him. He's gone through something. I don't know what it is, but he looked very different. And I think that Thrawn would keep himself in shape. He would keep himself disciplined. But that's how I interpret it. And I know a lot of people are like, oh, it's so terrible. I'm like, well, you're going to notice he looks different from the Thrawn.
It
You
does.
know,
You really want like a oh, his name's gone out of my mind. Anthony, the guy Alfred, Batman v Superman. Come on, Jeremy Irons. Jeremy Irons. You don't want like a whipped, thin, gaunt, angular face guy, a bit like Peter Cushing, actually, Grand Moff Tarkin. You want that kind of character, don't you?
Well, there was no indication that he would change physically. I mean, the same thing happened with Boba Fett, but it's only because Tamora Morrison has on a little bit more body weight. He's a mature man and his physical shape is different. But this one looks more like, I couldn't really understand why they chose to do that to him. They want him to look older, I guess. And it has been 10 years. I guess it's aged him, and he has, changed physically that way. And they wanted to do that. I don't know whether it's serving any purpose to do it to the story. Like, I don't think it improves the story in any way. So why go ahead and change his appearance? I always thought that he was a very cunning and masterful strategist,
Mm.
and he would be very disciplined and he wouldn't let himself go. He would be very strict and have a very disciplined regimen every day of what he does. So when I saw him, he looked physically different to me in a way that I thought was like, it looks like he might have let himself go. And then my fear was that are they going to show Thrawn as somebody who's broken? Because we've been seeing so many male
Yeah,
characters
yeah.
as this broken person. Is he broken? Is that what they're saying? Is he like, Indiana Jones, that we saw where he was kind of broken in that? Are things bad for him? I wasn't quite sure what they were trying to project. So that kind of made me wonder if that's what they were trying to do. And certainly, Balin and Hadi have the most passionate comments in this episode, Russ, where they're
Mm.
saying things like, something calls to me here. Can you hear it? There's something stirring. Can you feel it? I mean, he obviously is sensing that this planet Peridea is important. And of course, they've got those creatures in the coffins and the Night Sisters he calls witches, but he wants their power. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if he had some plan where he just gets rid of all the Night Sisters and takes their power. He seems to be the one person who's scheming on something that's cool, because whatever Thrawn is after, I just don't know what he's after. It's almost like they forgot to tell us what his master plan is going to be, how he's going to take over, and it's going to be a big war. And I'm not scared of Thrawn. Like, I feel like I was supposed to be scared of this character. I'm not. I'm more interested in Balin and Hadi and what's going to happen when Elspeth is like, you can't do that. Well, guess what? We're going to do it. No. And then there's going to be like some kind of confrontation between these three. It looks like they're friends, but they're not friends. Balin is scheming. It is very interesting. These Night Sisters don't like that Sabine is there. Sabine is there, and she's kind of messing up things. She's that thread, they said, that wasn't supposed to be there. They didn't predict she was going to be around, but Sabine is there. And of course, the moment we've all been waiting for, which I'm going to show you on the screen here, where they do kind of hug each other for literally a millisecond. But to be honest with you, Russ, I've had friends who I haven't seen for years. And when they saw each other finally, I'm sorry, it was the worst reunion ever. This was like the worst. I felt like they hugged each other, but we didn't get what we were hoping for from them. And I'm not quite sure why. They were somewhat dispassionate, and she does feel guilty. She feels guilty. You feel guilty if you sold out your friends to see your boyfriend. You'd feel guilty about that. But first, you probably make sweet love to the guy, or like whatever it is, or this friendship. But I think I'm more scared, as I said before, I'm more scared of Ahsoka's reaction and Hera's reaction to her when they finally have this reunion. I'm actually waiting for the Real Housewives of Star Wars, the reunion at the end of the season, for them to be sitting at a table with wine, and for one person to say, you sold us out because you wanted to see Ezra.
Yeah.
I had no choice. I had to do it. You don't understand.
Yeah.
Like, I'm waiting for this episode. It's not ever going to come, but I'm almost like more excited about the conferences. Like, Hera's like, you bitch, like,
You cost me my career.
yeah. We had to go all the way across the galaxy because of you. Like,
Yeah, and of course it won't cost her a career, will it? Because she's a female commander in Star Wars. She's going to be fine.
she's married to Ewan McGregor. She's totally in there.
Yeah.
But the point that I'm making is, I feel like there's more of that kind of like, oh, you did what? What did you do? And Hera's like, no, I don't believe it. I don't believe she did that. I'm like, yeah, she did. And, and she's going to do whatever she wants. But it was almost like that was more exciting to me than everything else. So I'm waiting for that episode. I know I'm not going to get it, but I'm waiting for that. The Real Housewives of Star Wars, they're going to show up all dressed nice, and looking good on the panel, and like, and let's talk about what happened in this season when you sold out your friends just to see Ezra. And it's like, you don't, you like, it just, I just can't stop smiling about it. That's how it's affecting me. That's how I'm thinking of the series. Not at all, I think, what the series was intended to evoke. Bonzo says Ahsoka really were having such a nice time. Oh dear. Yeah. So
we don't have to dwell on it, but there is one thing I did want to. Well, you know what Tom says here. I want those turtle guys. Well, you know what, Tom. The only reason why the turtle guys were there was because they're going to start making plushies and toys and shit like that. I mean, it's so obvious. Why those creatures were put there. But look, I mean, there's a part of me think, look, it's a kids show. That's what I just keep telling myself now when it comes to Ahsoka, and it doesn't mean it's particularly dumb, although some people do think it's dumb. But because it's a kids show, and all of Star Wars is a kids show. In fact, apart from Andor and Rogue One, we should say maybe Revenge of the Sith. When I kind of look at it like that, well, I don't really care about anything that's happening in this show. I think Robert Meyer Burnett was talking about this, and I think he was saying that he identified with Han Solo and Luke Skywalker because they were workaday guys, yet these people are not. I would disagree with Rob on that because everybody was kind of invested in Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan in the prequels. They're all, or Superman or whoever it happens to be. I'm not sure that's the key of it. I just think these things aren't as good. They're just not as good. There isn't as the care that's gone into it. There isn't and I do think that Disney being Disney, whoever is writing this, Dave Filoni, whoever is writing it, I think they're pretty much hamstrung by corporate directives that they can't get around. So the story group, like I said, this should be a love story. It should be a love story, and maybe Ahsoka is the secondary character. It should be about this, like in Empire Strikes Back, and you had the Gone with the Wind parody of Han Solo and Princess Leia, like Clark Gable and I'm going to get shot. Is it Vivian Leigh? Fuck, shit. Who
yes,
is it?
Vivian Leigh. But this time, Ahsoka can stop the tragedy from happening.
Yeah, she can. But what's my point? It's not a love story. These are just mates, platonic friends. It's just not the same. And as we discussed last week or the week before, Disney just would not allow a woman to be in love with a man and have her move heaven and earth and go to a galaxy far, far away because of her desperately wanting to be with this man. Like it's a non sequitur to Disney, right? But women would love that, right? Because that's a girl boss.
She should have traveled across the galaxy, with blazes of fire in her trails, and they should have just made sweet love in that crazy little hut of his, whatever the hell that is, with the little turtles watching him. And
he'd get his lightsaber out and say, "Judge me by my size, do you?"
That's right. And then she says, "What are we going to do now?" And he's like, "We're going to take over the fucking world, the fucking galaxy." And they go, "Yeah!" And it's like,
yeah, that's right. And then he puts her on the back of his bike, and they go off, But of course, it being Disney, he'd probably be on the back holding on to her. It's just ridiculous, isn't it?
And he's very much like somebody who's this kind of. They made him into this like a Wook, where he's hanging out at festivals. He has nothing to do. He's got nowhere to go. There's nowhere he is. I'm like, I don't think Ezra would be at the state. I think that he's a mature Jedi now and has had some influence from the planet Peridia, which is supposedly this incredibly strong planet with his Night Sister energy. He would have been like, "Hey, Sabine, why don't you come in the hut for a little while?"
Yeah.
That's what would have happened. He would have been it's just, I'm so sorry. Ray Stevenson still is incredible. Hati's like,
yeah, he's good.
She's like, "Are you saying he's a Jedi like me?" Like she's actually very sweet in this. And I see her eyes and I know that, she's thinking different things. She's like, she's obeying him. God bless her for having it. And I know he's not a Sith, but God bless her for having a Sith daddy like this, right? Because if this guy was your go-to person, there's no, you don't have anything worry. You have to worry about anything because you have him. He knows the deal. He knows everything. Even Huang is like, well, he was a Jedi. So, yeah, Huang should have been like, you better watch it. He can be very dangerous. He it breaks my heart about him, but he is the strongest character by far, even stronger than the Night Sisters, more influential than anybody else. As I said, I would love to have a Sith daddy like this. Gary Bandersnatch says Scotch Trooper. Yeah, thank you. Though I have a lot of things to keep it spicy and very interesting. Night Sisters equals Night Walk, Wit Walkers. I don't even know. We haven't been told enough about this stuff. Stubble says, I wonder what Ahsoka is going to do. Because, yeah, how is Ahsoka going to fight all these people? She cannot win this. What is the point of this fight? She doesn't have enough people. Is the entire fleet going to come over? They can't. The whales only brought her. She's like, I'm going to leave Hera at home. And I'm like, how is she going to conquer this? What fantastic plan. I thought when she went into that world between worlds thing, she was going to ask Anakin, hey, how do I defeat this? How do we conquer this? I thought that's what was going to happen. But that's not what happened, Russ. It is another galaxy even farther away. So
one thing are we done with Ahsoka? I think like chat's not into it. It doesn't sound like you're into it. I'm not really. Like we have to watch it so we can talk about it on here. But I was really excited after the World Between Worlds, and as I kept saying last week, that's their opportunity. That's their when like in the next episode, just say, well, we're living in one possible future now. Who knows what the future will bring? But you go in there has changed everything. Like the decisions that happen now, things that you've done in your past that might all be altered because of this, and our future might well be altered because of this. Would you think, well, it's possible? That's all you've got to say. You're not erasing the sequels, but you're giving Legends fans or EU fans hope that actually their canon can continue in the way that they want it to continue. But they, of course, it being Disney, they won't do that. But they really should do that. They should listen to their fans and try to give the fans what they want, which is what they seem to be trying to do with this Dave Filoni stuff. But, come on, Disney, everybody knows those films were crap. They were crap. Nobody likes them. Nobody likes them. And even the people that do are only liking them to be contrarian because they're shit and everybody knows it. They're just pants.
Well, Brogu says, I vote for sweet lovemaking. Yeah, that would have been a very interesting motivation for her because I'm not buying the you're such a good friend. I haven't seen you in 10 years. I'm going to go halfway into another universe to see you. And Tom says fans are begging for Lars to be the live action version of Thrawn. And now they complain about it. Come on, please, people. I wanted Mike Fassbender to be Thrawn, but that's another story.
He would have owned it. Jeremy Irons would have owned it. There's lots of people
Jeremy
out there
Irons would have been great in this. Maybe even what's that guy who plays Remington Steele?
Pierce Brosnan.
He maybe, I don't know, maybe he's older and they might not have cast him. And Gary Smith is like, yeah, right. Hi, Gary. Hope you are well. Good to see you. So Joey Johnson is here. Joey says, LOL. Oh, look at Joey. Is that you, Joey? It's a cool picture of you. And I know you've been here before, Joey. Good to see you. LOL with the little turtles watching them. Yeah, you know what I mean? Oh, Bonzo Kilborn says that Sith Daddy is playing 4D chess. Yes.
Such a good name for a band.
Sith Daddy?
Love it.
Totally true. He says he slept in today. It's pouring rain here in Pennsylvania, so just one of those days. Yeah, it is rainy. It feels very kind of, hello fall, but not kind of like a sweet fall. And Joe hasn't even watched it. He says, I'm really waiting for the next season of Andor. So am I. Hey, Latoya T is here.
We all are, Big Joe.
Hey, Latoya T, how are you? Good to see you. Of course, guys, as you know, Latoya T has her clothing line, Coco Tulip. Make sure you check out Coco Tulip. The holidays are coming. You definitely want to pick up something for that special person in your life. Latoya, it is such a pleasure to see you here today. Yes, it is you in the photo. It is great to finally see you, Joey. Welcome and glad to see you. And Bonzo says, yes, people who say it's good, it's being contrarian. Russ speaks wisdom. I think,
rarely, but maybe that time, Bonzo.
I think it's interesting that that this series has had what I would call a very high production value. And what does that mean?
It does. Looks great.
It looks amazing. I think that they and Brogu says he's waiting for Rebel Moon. Can't blame you, Brogu. A lot of people are
Yeah,
waiting for that.
might be
Oh,
the gap in the market, right? Might
it's
be
such
the
a
gap
pleasure
in
to
the
see
market, Brogu.
you. Latoya, am I going to see you at New York Comic Con this year? I wasn't quite sure if you were going to be there, but it'd be great to see you guys there this year. It's just, I guess, about a month away. I wasn't sure what your plans were, but do let me know if you guys will be there so we can see each other. Last time you saw me, I wasn't well when I was in London, so it'd be great to see you now. But yeah, I think.
She was sick of me. That's why you were unwell, right?
Oh, you're near Wilkes Barre. Okay, okay. Oh, okay. So he needs to rain where he lives. But yeah, it is very interesting. And guys, here's the Coco Tulip website. Guys, make sure you check out Coco Tulip to get something special for the lady in your life. Um, And yeah, Russ, I think it is very interesting. The production value, which I think has been spectacular. You know, it looks so good. We haven't really had any major unforced errors. You know, there's nobody hiding under trench coats and any of that
That's
weird stuff.
that's right, Aaron. This is the best thing that we can say about Ahsoka. Like I said at the beginning, it's okay. It's not insulting in the way that Obi-Wan and Boba Fett literally just took a big fat shit all over the fans and the franchise, and just what were they thinking? What were, can you imagine being in the writers' room? So it's you and me, right? Everyone's gone home late. We've ordered a Chinese takeaway. We're smoking indoors because it's getting late and we've got to get this script done. And you say to me, you know what, Russ? I've had this, like they're stuck in the prison. Yeah, yeah, yeah. If he puts her under his coat, that's how we're going to get him out. That's a fucking great idea, Rita. Yeah, literally put her under the coat. Yeah, yeah, that's pretty. Well, didn't Bonzo say we should put her in a box? I know fucking Bonzo don't know what he's talking about. We'll put her under the coat. It'll be, what were you thinking? What was going on? What was going on? Who thought that? Who? Why? Anyway,
And
that was a shit show. This is an okay show. It's an
and we'll see you later,
okay show.
Bonzo. I know you're running out. Have a good week, and thanks for stopping by, Bonzo. And I'm
You
sorry about.
totally did say it right. Yes. Get out of here. Do a quick runner. Go on, sharpish. Sling your hook.
But Russ, you make a good point. And I think that if anything, it is kind of a showcase, and I've said this before, of Ahsoka. You know, we haven't really seen a lot of her in live action, and this was an opportunity, especially episode 4, or it might be 5, episode 5, to see her in a different way. And I think that he did accomplish that. I think um, we got to see different iterations of Ahsoka through the years. And it looks incredible on the screen. It really does look good. And I think that if given the right time, given the right situation, we could have explored more of that. And screw this whole Thrawn thing. I didn't need to see Thrawn in this series. If we were just going to focus on Ahsoka and it was going to be about Ahsoka, I would have been fine with that. We don't need to see Sabine and all these other people. This could have been a journey of just Ahsoka and the Force, and I would have watched it.
Well,
So,
that's why everybody said that about Obi-Wan. If it had just been about him going on some random mission trying to reconnect with Qui-Gon Jinn, everyone would have watched that. But you know what I think about this show, actually, as a not person who hasn't, who loves Star Wars but haven't seen, Rebels or the cartoons, Clone Wars or anything like that. This is a bit of a middle finger to anybody that hasn't. This is a show by a fan for the fans. Like, he's not really going into Ahsoka's backstory apart from the one tiny little flashback, and we find out that Darth Vader was her master. It's no big shock because we all know that, but I haven't been through those Clone Wars and Rebels experiences, right? And Dave Filoni clearly doesn't care. Dave Filoni isn't wasting time filling up his particular story with backstory and stuff that needs to be filled in. Although, having said that, there is plenty of room in this to pad it out because there's not a lot going on, is there? But it is by a fan for the fans, and I think that's why it's getting a pass. That's why it's getting so much love. It's almost like a rewind to the Mandalorian, isn't it? That got a massive pass and so much love because everything that had come before the Mandalorian had been absolute dog shit, right? And it was literally after uh, the Rise of Skywalker, I think, had come out, and everyone was just done with it. And you had this mediocre first season of The Mandalorian that felt like Star Wars, looked like Star Wars, acted like Star Wars, had stormtroopers, had the Empire, and everybody loved it. And I think Ahsoka's getting a bit of a pass, because it's like, if you love Star Wars and you've seen all those shows, you're getting all the little things in the background. You're getting everything. You're getting the references. You don't need to be told about Ahsoka or Thrawn or anything like that. And fuck you if you don't know that stuff. Like, go watch another show. And I think that's brilliant. You know, make it for the fans, Dave. Go for it. But maybe, as I said earlier on, I just think any creative is going to be hamstrung by Disney's story group saying, "Well, no, we can't have a love story," and no, she can't be shown to be weak, and no, she can't have a crisis of confidence, and no, she can't do anything like that, and you end up with Disney females.
Well said. Joey says that he has been dealing with some stuff. He had surgery on his jawline, and that they removed 2 masses, but they found out they're benign. Happy days.
Happy days, Joey. Many happy days. Thank God. Thank
Thank
God.
goodness everything's okay, Joey. And please stop by again. Let us know how you're doing. Says, have a good week, everyone. Same to you. Darth Plato says Sabine can get Ezra off the planet with Ezra under the clothes.
There you go. Great.
Stubble says, and I'm curious about Shogun. Darth Plato and I were going to review Shogun, but we couldn't find it anywhere. I wonder if they will pull it off, or will be the shit. I think they've made it the old television show with Chamberlain. I hope I'm saying the right guy. Unavailable.
Yeah. I've got them on DVD. I can send them to you. But I've got, if you've got a multi-region player, because they're region 2 and you're region 1.
Let's talk about it. Broku says, enjoy the rest of your weekend. Stay frosty and remember this is the way. Gary Bando Sandwich tells people you've got to watch the cartoons if you're a noob, and because you will have no clue about what's going on with Ahsoka, which is true. Darth Plato says Ezra chases after yelling, Sabine, Sabine. And also, yeah, of course, Stubble has it on Blu-ray as well. You guys all have it. Yeah, and they're talking about what would have happened to Thrawn if it was another person.
Did you get the chance to watch The Continental?
I have not watched it, no.
Oh, shame on you, RM. Come on now. Okay, well, let's talk about Continental 1 and 2 next week. Then maybe less of a focus on Ahsoka and more about the Continental, because I saw it when it dropped, which is very rare for me. But I am a bit of a John Wick fan. And I really liked it. It's not up there with John Wick, right? And I had questions about some of the decisions that they made in terms of the action sequences. What I will say so far about the Continental, it has all of the ammunition to start preaching. It's got it right there, and it doesn't. It just doesn't give you any politics whatsoever. It is in the New York of Taxi Driver, The Exterminator, Death Wish. It is that. They've done a brilliant job of that. I think they're trying a bit hard with the needle drops. There's so many needle drops in it, but they're all great. And you have to kind of forgive it for that. And the soundtrack itself is very, very 70, doom, 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 that slap bass and all that kind of stuff. So it really looks, feels, and smells like a 70s show. Mel Gibson has decided that the scenery is a free lunch, and he's going to chew his way through it. He is just phenomenal in this show. It's a really fucking good show. It's got a few issues. Nothing's perfect, and I would, but it was in the choreography. Really, there's things I noticed in the action design that Stahelski. Here's a spoiler, and I'm not going to tell you the situation, but basically,
I don't want to hear a spoiler.
No, it's not gonna. There's a scene where there's a hole. Someone's made a hole in the ground. Like they're coming up through a railway tunnel. They've got a hole in the ground, right, or a hole in the floor, or a hole in the ceiling, depending on what angle you are. And they go through and they do the thing that they've got to do. And then the guards come and they're making their escape. And they go, get him. And the one guy jumps down back through the hole and onto the railway track and he's running away. And they all shoot after him. And then get him. And everybody just leaves the room. Like nobody jumps in the hole after, and I just thought, you see, that wouldn't, if Stahelski was designing that, that would have been thought of, that would have been dealt with. You know, he would have done something to ensure that they couldn't have just jumped down the hole and he's in a tunnel when they, could have just shot him in the back, and that would have been the end of the program. That really stuck out to me. Although the action was excellent. The choreography was excellent. It was very John Wick, and there is connections to John in these action sequences, and you'll spot that. It's not me giving spoilers. As soon as you see the one guy doing his thing, you'll pick up on, you'll future forward maybe, and you think, oh, well, maybe that, and then I'm not going to say any more because I am getting into spoilers now. But do watch it. 7.5, 8 out of 10 for me on the first episode. Really, really enjoyed it. Everybody drinks. Every fucker's smoking. It is proper 70s stuff. Like, they're in London and everyone's just sat at a table with their oilies, the Benson, Embassy number ones and Benson Hedges. Authenticity to die for.
Mhm.
Great show.
I mean, I remember the 80s, especially the early 80s, and also when I was going out to clubs in the late 80s, early 90s, and people smoked. Like, it was smoky in those clubs. It was
Yeah,
a
I was one
very
of them. You
different.
come back reeking of fags.
Yes. And you had to just like wash from head to toe. Gary Bando Sandwich Worthington says action-packed Continental. Brogu says the Continental sounds great. Russ gonna watch it later today. Joe Tyson says, I guess I'll start watching the Continental today. Chronicles says, good to see Mel Gibson back in form again. And Gary says, Russ ready for part 2 with
Yeah, 100%,
anticipation.
Gal. 100%. Can't wait. Really, I'm genuinely excited to see. I was gutted when I realized it wasn't on Netflix and I couldn't get to watch the whole thing. Like, I really wanted to watch the next one, and that's always, and this was the same with Ahsoka last week. I really wanted to see this episode, and then I saw it and I thought, it's a bit like that one episode of Mandalorian season 3 that didn't have anything to do with Mandalorian. When they were on Coruscant, and that was like the best episode of the show because it was like literally another show, and that's the kind
Yeah,
of
it
Star
was.
Wars I want. But I was so excited to watch this episode of Ahsoka, and when I got to see it, I was like,
The Coruscant episodes were perfect for my social climber
I
character
know your character, yeah.
because she's there. She wants to be like those people who are going to the opera and are like, what is the government called now? I can never remember.
Yeah, is it the
Can I
yeah,
have another bottle? Can I have another glass of wine? Thanks so much. Like, they just don't care about what's going on in the galaxy. And I think that might be more realistic interpretation of the mentality of people at that time, because they're done. They're like, I don't want to deal with the Empire and with the Republic. I don't want to deal with it. I just want to have a good time. You guys can kiss my butt. I want to thank Irene for the super chat earlier today.
Yeah, nice one,
Um,
Irene.
I so appreciate it. And I just love how
Did you
everybody
hear
just
Robert My Burnett the other day bigging up Irene, saying how hot she was? You've got admirers all over the place, Irene. I'm not going to lie, mate.
absolutely, Irene. And I think Russ makes a good point. Thank you so much for being here and always supporting me. I so appreciate it. And you are a lovely person, Irene. It's great to see you, as always. And who else do we have here? Stubble says, coming back reeking of fags. What clothes were you at? I know, at the Tunnel and at the Sound Factory and at Nell's and at the Limelight, just to name a few. Whenever you would go in, you would just reek. You come out and your eyes would actually burn you because there had been so much smoke. You were smoking. You were
Oh
like
yeah,
literally
I used
no,
to
but
smoke.
even if you didn't have a cigarette in your mouth, you
Oh
were
yeah,
inhaling enough smoke. Like, you were smoking. There's
literally
no
reeking
way.
of fags. Yeah. What clubs was I at? I used to go to the Red Lion in Brentford, Opera on the Green in Shepherd's Bush, Hippodrome in Leicester Square,
Mhm.
and the Astoria on Tottenham Court Road.
Oh,
And
Tottenham Court Road. Oh my
yeah,
gosh, I know what that
where
is.
the Astoria was, and there was one called Busby's that was on New Oxford Street.
Uh-huh.
So, God, what was it? I forget the one on Thursday, but Friday night was definitely Astoria. Opera was Saturday. Busby's was Sunday. Hippodrome was Wednesday.
I went to some clubs in the 90s in the UK. At the time I was like into house music and jungle music.
Mhm.
And yeah, so there's never a dull night in London when it comes to nightclubs.
Oh, sorry. Yes, double. These were all heavy metal clubs, by the way.
Oh, were they?
when heavy metal clubs were a thing. Yeah, yeah. There's still one. There's actually one in Kingston. It's this pub called the Fighting Cocks. Fanar. But yeah, they have rock night every Friday night. I think it's Friday or Saturday. I can't remember. I haven't been there for a while.
Absolutely, Irene, we love you and thank you for the generosity today, especially. Um, what is this? Uh, Russ would go to the ramrod and the mouthful. What?
It's because I said fags, and of course in England we
Oh.
call cigarettes fags, and I understand it. Fags means is some kind of slur that I'm not going to mention. So they're all basically saying, oh, well, you come back reeking of fags. What kind of clubs were you going to? I think that was the inference of Stubble. And there's me going, oh well, I used to go to the Opera on the Green. Sorry, Stubble, went over my head, but I'm caught up. I'm caught up.
I would come home and I would put conditioner in my hair and then wake up the next morning and then just wash everything out because you had
I
to.
have been to Ronnie Scott's Chronicles. Yes, I have been once. And I was outrageously pissed. And I met these two businessmen, and then we ended up going to a different place to an all nighter. There was no funny business going on. It's just these guys were equally as drunk, and we just ended up wandering around London. So that was the 90s.
Oh my gosh, those are the days, Russ.
Yes.
Brogu says, Artem and Russ, you guys are the best. You guys are the best too. I am. There are places you wouldn't be caught dead in any of these places. Don't worry. We'll meet you later for brunch, like today. That's why
Hmm, hmm.
it's a whole weekend of clubbing, and we're meeting for brunch. The lucky few.
Reeking of fags from the club, right?
That's right, because
We're
we've
going to
been
go
out
straight
all
there,
night,
straight from
and
the club to the
that's
brunch.
right. Yes.
Do you know what? Actually, this is actually true. Because the Slimelight was a goth club, and it was in the Angel in Islington in London, which because all the goths hang around Camden, and there's the one pub, and I think it's the George and Devonshire is the name of the pub in Camden. That's the big goth club. It's not the World's End. Like nobody goes to the World's End. They go to the one round the corner. But the Slimelight is the big Saturday night goth club. You got the Electric Ballroom on the Friday and the Slimelight on the Saturday. Thing was though, everyone was taking so much speed in the Slimelight, and the Slimelight didn't shut until 7. So you'd get there at like 11 or midnight, and then you'd come out at 7, and it was like
It
so
was
funny,
boring.
especially in the summer,
Yeah, yeah.
right? And you'd have all these like goths, would all be messed up from the night, like physically messed up, mentally messed up, and there'd be hundreds of goths headed off to McDonald's and more goths headed off to the
Mhm.
train. You'd all be sat on the summer morning train at night, 8, 9 o'clock in the morning. Your all makeup's all run down your face and your hair's all
You're
messed up.
all sweaty, your hair's all
Oh,
messed up,
yeah, exactly.
you're tired.
Not looking so cool then. Well, we weren't tired because we'd had help to stay awake, but yeah. Anyway, that was that. Watch the Continental. It really, really is good. Um it makes me curious about Ballerina. I'm not sure I'm that enthusiastic about Ballerina. Um because I wonder what Ballerina will have to say that John Wick didn't. But I feel that the Continental has got things to say that John Wick can't say because it's set 50 years ago, and I just like it. I really like what they've done with it. Someone said it goes through different eras, so it might be the 80s next week, but I didn't hear that. I thought it was just in the 70s. But we'll see. I really enjoyed it, and yes, Tom Junior Jackson says Russ will be at the Dominatrix clubs, getting the info from his books. There's no dominations in my books. I'm just here to say it. All right.
Well, thank you everybody for watching Sunday Brunch Live. Thank you, Tom, Junior Jackson. We were all goof people. Do subscribe to Tom's channel. Irene, again, thank you for the super chat. It makes such a big difference here on the channel. And thank you everybody for stopping by. I'm going to be doing, as I said, a watch party with Darth Plato. We're going to be reviewing Troy on the channel at 6 p.m. Maybe Russ, you could stop by for a half an hour or something if you want to.
Well,
I know
yeah,
it's
six.
late.
Was it 6? It's going to be 11, isn't it? Maybe. I don't know. What day is it?
It's Thursday night.
Thursday. I'm going to my stepfather's for dinner on Thursday. So maybe I'll text you.
And also, I'm going to be reviewing the Wheel of Time. Is it this week or is it the following week? It's probably the following week with Stubble, as well as the conclusion of Ahsoka the following week with Catherine. But I have a lot of fun things coming up, guys. And thank you so much for the support, everybody.
I have a request
Yes.
before we go.
Yes.
If anybody here believes in the power of positive thinking, I'm asking you all, please, to keep me in your thoughts on Tuesday, because Tuesday, a guy called Mandela Dube, who's a South African director, is taking my screenplay to Netflix Africa. So it's going to be an Africa original, like it's all set in South Africa now. And Netflix are either going to say yes, no, or maybe. And I'm kind of hoping it's going to be a yes. So I will let you all know what transpires, if it's a win or a fail or a near miss or a near hit or whatever it is. But yeah, fingers crossed. It could be not a life changing moment, or maybe a life changing moment because I've never done anything like that before. But it'll be a big deal for me personally. So fingers crossed, man. Keep me. Use the force, guys. Use the force.
Getting some of that positive energy, positive outcome, and certainly you will be on our minds, Russ.
Thanks, guys.
And thank you, everybody. Guys, enjoy the rest of your day. And guys, remember, no matter where you are in the galaxy, everybody, always remember to please be kind.
Cheers,
Take
guys.
care.
Thank you so much for everything. And especially thank you, Irene. You rule.